everybody, it's Mrs. Clemens.
And Mr. Marshall.
And this is U.S. History Flipped.
Caw-caw!
Woo! Yay! Alright guys, so today we're going to be talking about Colonial America. It's our favorite type of Colonial America. And we're going to talk about how our colonies grew. And the thing that we want you guys to know is our righty thing to let you know when you are writing notes is this nifty little pen and ink thing who do, and that'll let you know what's happening. And I just again want to say I like this map because it makes everything look funky.
Yeah, that is a good map.
Yeah. All right, so are you writing this? Are you?
No.
No. So anyway, the first thing I want to say is that in the very beginning, and we're talking the early 1600s, everybody's coming to the colonies. It's pretty diverse from the very start. So when we talk about America today still being diverse, there's a reason for it. So we've got some people that are coming by choice and some people that aren't. So obviously Africans are not coming by choice, and we're going to talk a bunch more about that as we go. Indentured servants, they kind of have a choice, but not so much. We'll talk about that. You've got people from Scotland, Ireland, Scotch-Irish, German, Swiss, Belgians, the Portuguese, some Jewish people, some people from Sweden, some people from the Netherlands, some French, some Welsh, some Irish, some Scots. If it's not Scottish, it's crap. And English. It's the largest population. I just said that. And why did they come? Well, there were three main reasons why these guys came. Oh, by the way, you're writing it down. You noticed that, right? Mr. Marshall, how do I know I'm writing it down?
Because of the thing up here that moves.
Ooh,
and writes.
Pretty. All right, so you've got some people that are coming for freedom of religion. So like the Pilgrims, that you guys have learned about and made turkeys out of your hands with. They came, they were fleeing the Church of England, they went to Massachusetts. Rhode Island was pretty cool. They were big on religious freedom. They let everyone come, and you could be whatever religion you wanted. The people that were coming to make money were going to Delaware, Virginia, New York, South Carolina, and Georgia, so sort of the middle and the southern colonies. And then some people were coming for political reasons that, they're upset about the Church of England. Also, they're not big fans of the king. And we're going to talk about this more in the future, but definitely England wanted people to come because of mercantilism. And basically what it is, it's an economic policy where you have colonies to benefit the mother country. And our mother was Britain or England, whichever you'd like to call them.
So we're going to talk about like the different sets of colonies. You got the middle, the northeast, the south. Obviously, the south is what we're going to be talking about first. And I'm still making gestures, even though they can't see me. I don't know why. And you guys,
I'm waving. You
so,
can't see.
You guys can see the little book up here. It's only pointing to the southern colonies. That's the only thing you have to write. You don't have to write the rest of it.
Oh my
and
gosh,
now we're back
Mr.
to it.
Marshall.
So this is all the 13 colonies, and these are just the ones in the south. So you got Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, right? And they're really divided up into some of the distinct regions. I don't know why it keeps doing that.
It's my laptop. I'm sorry, children.
Right? And this is where they're growing tons and tons of tobacco. Eventually they're going to get into the cotton with the whole cotton gin being created and all sorts of like slaveries going on. We're going to be talking about all these things in a whole lot of detail later on.
I was just nodding, and they can't see me nod either.
So the South really becomes kind of its own entity, and it's very much different from the other sections of the colonies. And this is also where you get Jamestown that starts up. And Jamestown was a great idea, but they didn't really have a good start to it. If you guys take a look on the right, these guys came in and they're like, let's go get gold and like get rich, but they forget that they have to eat. So they move in and they immediately start digging in the ground looking for nuggets of like yellowness that would just be awesome that they can make money with. And they don't plant any crops. They just do a horrible job. And by the end of it, they're literally boiling their boots to try to like get some nutrients, like sucking on the soles, eating like rats and snakes. It says on the left here, one guy got hanged for cannibalism because he's eating his buddy's arm while he's asleep.
I would totally eat your arm.
That does not make me feel comfortable right now, actually.
Alright, I would not eat your arm.
But yes, if I die, you can eat my arm.
Oh, thank you.
So, I mean, this colony almost failed several times, and England kept on shipping over more supplies to kind of help them get through it. Very few colonists ended up surviving. You see down at the bottom, it's only 60 colonists. There were a lot of deaths. It was pretty rough times. Okay. So this you guys are writing down. Okay. And of course, you can always pause it because it's a video and write down everything that if we're moving through this too quickly.
Absolutely.
So you have, just as I was saying before, the settlers' main goal is trying to find gold, so they weren't really building their houses correctly, making them all warm for the winter, or planting all the crops that they needed. You have the joint stock companies, which is where all these different business members would kind of pool their wealth together. Like, Johnny throws in $10, Joey throws in $20, and they all kind of get their money to be able to get something off the ground. And then since they share the cost, they share the profit.
It's sort of like an early day corporation.
Yes, very much like so.
Indeed.
Yes, pooling money.
Yes.
They start growing tobacco, which takes off huge in Europe because who knew it was addictive. Right? And it's a cash crop. So once again, they're not getting food, they're trying to make money. Right? And they start bringing over slaves because they need them for the labor. And there starts being a lot of inequalities between the large landowners and the smaller landowners on the frontier. And you're going to start to see this kind of rift between those two groups of people grow the farther we go through our history. So the joint stock companies, we described them a little bit before. This is how all of the business ventures kind of started going. Because, nobody had, some people had enough money, but not that many. So everybody kind of had to pull their resources together because it was the only way to get enough money to do anything. Right? Now, the good part about this was you get whole lots of people working towards one thing with pulling all their money together. They're obviously going to work real hard. But if something bad happens, like a ship gets caught in a storm and it sinks, all those people just lost real bad. So, it was a risk. It's a business. It's a business that you're investing in. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It all depends on how it works out. And the joint stock companies was how a lot of those business ventures got started.
All right, so our next section that we're going to talk about, and it's actually the next section that got settled. So Jamestown was the first. Then, and that's 1609 when that starts. I'm telling you the date because I like dates. Anyway.
Numbers are fun.
Love you, numbers. So our next place is New England, and we still call this region New England today. And you'll notice in here that we've got some extra states. Or colonies. We've got New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. But yeah, so generally, though, New England is these states. So you're just writing the title. All right, so here we go, the New England colonial map. And so you can see, for those of you guys that are good with your states, this is today Vermont, but both New Hampshire and New York were fighting over it. And so that happens for a long time. And you might also notice that, so here's Massachusetts down here, and it looks like Massachusetts today. But that's Massachusetts too. And today, what state is it? What state?
Maine.
Oh my God, you're right. So it's a little bit different than things are today. But yeah, so these guys, remember we were talking about geography and, it depends on the land and, the quality of the land. So these guys, they don't have as good a quality of land, so they take to the sea. So they're big with whaling and fishing, and that's actually still true today, that you have a lot of fishermen and whatever. This is where they're going to start factories later on. They like their rum for the triangle trade. So they've got a different economy going. Their setup is different too. These guys are different from the folks that came for the joint stock company, where they hoped they would come, make their profit, and then go home back to Britain. These guys knew that they were going to stay. And so they knew they were going to stay because they're actually fleeing something. They're not moving to make money. So they were persecuted, which means discriminated or punished, in England. So they went to Plymouth. And eventually this becomes known as the Massachusetts Bay Colony. And so right here is the Plymouth Rock. And honestly, you can go to Plymouth and see it, and it's in this like weird building thing. My parents took me, and it was pretty underwhelming that it's just this rock. And today we're not even sure if that's the real rock, so don't go. It's not fun. But anyway, these guys are a lot better. They're not like, they're not searching for gold like they are in Jamestown. These guys are planned out. They don't starve. But they do have really strict laws about the church because their whole thing is, their religion. So we'll talk about that in a second. I like this political cartoon. You can see, for those of you guys that are good at looking at, where things are from, the sourcing, this is from 2006. But so for a while, there's been this whole talk, there should be a border wall between us and Mexico. And that's what this cartoon is kind of talking about. They're using history to talk about the present. Political cartoons. So you've got the folks coming over, the Pilgrims, and here's Plymouth Rock, and these guys are Native Americans. And so the Native Americans are hearing the colonists. They say they're building a wall because too many of us enter illegally and won't learn their language or assimilate into their culture. And so obviously it's playing on what's going on in America today. And then when I was talking about it being strict rules in the church, they had some nifty punishments. My favorite is the stocks, where you would stand there all day and they would throw rotten food at you. I like that they also have sitting stocks. Like maybe you weren't as bad.
Those are the nicer ones.
Yeah, but still kind of funky.
And then the next group the last group is the middle colonies. So New York, Pennsylvania, Jersey, Delaware. Right? And here, that's where we're starting to get a lot of the farming from. Like you can see on the left, it's the bread basket, Also, lots of apples. New York makes lots of apples. We grow them well. Yay! And there's a lot of manufacturing around here, and just all sorts of good stuff. And especially a lot of lumber. Especially with New York City down there building ships. The trees that we have here, because when you make a mast of a ship, it's got to be one big piece. Otherwise, there's weak spots. So our lumber up here was great for ships. We also had lots of indentured servants. There were still slaves up here, but there was a lot of indentured servants, where people whose lives were really like down in the dumps, like they couldn't really get anything going over in Europe somewhere. They'd say, "Hey, I'm just going to give up 7 years of my life, and I'm not going to be a slave, but I'm going to work for this guy really, really crazy hours, really, really hard, and in return, I'm going to get to go over into this new land and have a fresh start." And a lot of people, tried it out, to work on. Now, they ended up working on farms, and it was a really rough life because, they're not technically slaves, but they're still treated pretty bad. Like, it was a rough time. But they got to come over into the new world for free, and a lot of these people didn't have enough money to pay for that. So it was a good opportunity for some of them. Okay. So this you guys are writing down. So you have New Amsterdam, which eventually becomes New York. Awesome city. It was first settled by the Dutch, eventually becomes New York. Very, very diverse. It was always like that from the start. You had people from all over coming around here. It's a great harbor. It's right next to a river. Awesome place. Right? Very religious, a whole lot of religious toleration. And the Quakers who settled over in Pennsylvania had really good relations with the Native Americans. So like the whole area kind of got this whole like tolerance thing going, which kind of carries through for a little while. Right? Now this is huge. You make sure you write this down, imprint it in your brains, because the Regents loves to ask questions.
Underline it, star it.
Yeah, it's really important. All three of these things, the Regents likes to group together as early examples of democratic government. Trust me, we're going to talk about it a lot. You have the Mayflower Compact, which is this piece of paper where everybody in the Mayflower was like, okay, we're all going to agree, this is how we're going to do everything, it's going to be democratic, we're all going to get along, we're going to make it work. New England town meetings, direct democratic rule, everybody gets together and is like, okay, this is how we're going to do this, we're all going to have an input, we're all going to make the decisions, we're all going to vote and figure out how we're going to do everything. Big thing is democratic. And then you have the Virginia House of Burgesses. Just remember, early democratic rule. And we're going to talk about it in a whole lot of detail as we go through. And then the last one, we have the 13 colonies. This is everything right there for you guys to take a look at. And yeah, that's